Welcome everyone to the Game Speak episode 2. I am your host, Mr. Snoob603. Joining me tonight is Scanner Barkley, Epona, and Why Not the Tiger. So last week we were on a bit of a time crunch because I had family things that I had to tend to. More importantly, my wife did. So the beauty of tonight is we don't have a time frame. We get to talk about anything and everything.
Boops.
For anyone that's new here, all the topics, or almost all the topics, are generated by you guys in the community. And all the topics were picked from the Dawnbreaker Gaming forums. I created a new thread on the subforum, the GameSpeak podcast subforum, that everyone can go ahead and throw up their own topics, and from there we kind of pick and choose and discuss them at will. Since last week was a short episode, I decided that this week we'll take any of the topics we missed from last week, cover them beforehand, and then we'll get to all the topics people suggested for episode 2 of this week. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it, and this one might catch some people by surprise because it's kind of weird, but this one's from the Surdan. He's saying MLG's coming back to the X Games with CS:GO. I don't really know what else to say. I found this intriguing because a lot of people are interested as to see what the impact of esports can be within the gaming industry. And there's some big players that tried to jump into it and failed colossally. Battlefield 4, sorry. And some games still do extremely well with competitive, in the esports series. Like one game that comes to mind is StarCraft 2. That game has been out for ages now, and it's still going strong in the esports scenes. It's starting to tail off a little bit, but it still pulls in crazy numbers for all their big events. Obviously, League of Legends is huge. So I guess
Dota.
Yep, Dota. I mean, there's a lot of good games, and for anyone that's not familiar with the X Games, it's originally started as the Extreme Games. It's for extreme sports. I usually start out with skateboarding, rollerblading of all things, freestyle BMX, like actual BMX, like racing, and some other sports. Now it's BMX, skating, motocross, and a couple other things. It's a yearly event. Last year they expanded to like covering, I think they made it like 6 events around the world, so it's not just like the one big event in LA. I actually see this as being a really good thing for the gaming industry. Anytime you can expand your industry and cover more ground in other industries, get more notoriety, I can't help but think that's a good thing. You want your sport to grow. The more knowledgeable people are on gaming in general, I think the less negative stigma it's going to have. Like it or not, there's still a bit of a negative stigma that mostly ignorant people have regarding gaming because they just don't know any better. They only see it as what people viewed of it, 20, 30 years ago, where it's like, oh, only nerds do it and you're not going anywhere with it. So I'm all for it. I'm actually really stoked that these sports scenes can continue to grow and that X Games is taking a much bigger stance on it and involving it. But that's what I have to add. I'd like to hear what you guys' thoughts are on the esports scenes making it over to X Games.
It makes sense. Like a lot of sense. There's always been a cross proliferation or pollination of the scenes. Like when I was a boarder, everybody gamed. Everybody I knew who boarded gamed, but not everybody I knew who gamed also boarded. So it makes a lot of sense. Tony Hawk, how much money has he made off that same kind of dual culture? Both gaming and like the X Games stuff are reasonably kind of culturally in their own way as well, I guess. Not in like the definitive counterculture way, I guess, but they're both outside the norm, youth-oriented interests. So yeah. Plus, let's be honest, if you're watching the X Games, you've probably got disposable income, I'm gonna say. It's a good market to go after.
That's true. That kind of, like you said, it's almost like a cross-pollination of 2 different sports that, well, not really sports. I hesitate to call gaming a sport because there's no physical activity needed. And I don't know, you can go really far down that rabbit hole of what does and doesn't quantify as a sport. What the hell?
I think as long as you don't see the crazy immature bullshit that sometimes goes down in more unprofessional arenas, that it could be really good for gaming and mainstream culture as a whole. So I agree.
Let's be clear, when you've got stuff like that Call of Duty team that the entire team got dropped for the shit they were screaming while they were playing,
Yeah, at that London tournament.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that can't occur on this side of a stage. But the good thing about CS:GO is traditionally there's a more mature kind of bent to both the players and the audience. Generally speaking, at a pro level. Well, that's my own experience, I guess, but that's the way I would interpret it.
Yeah.
Like, watch the chat in a League of Legends stream versus the chat in a CS:GO stream. There's a marked difference in how people express themselves.
That doesn't surprise me one bit. The League of Legends community it's very polarizing. You get a lot of normal people in there, but I mean, it just seems like either everyone's really chill and normal, or they're just like worst case scenario, typical COD kid that you would think of, you know, for that stereotypical COD kid that you would think of. I just don't see much middle ground in there where people can, you know, kind of get a little trash talky, but it's just, it can be bad, but it can be just as good. Like I said, it's very polarizing. But I think that's it, unless Tony or Jess has anything else to add.
Yeah, well, actually, what I want to say is that remember when the X Games first came out and skateboarding and surfing, skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding, rollerblading, you know, all these different events that were, you know, sort of fringe sports, and then now you see them as Olympic sports. I think I think the X Games is a path for gaming to become a legitimate spectator sport. I'm using sport very lightly or loosely right here, but I think it is a pathway for it to become a legitimate spectator sport, considering what the number of viewers that MLG brings in, you know, on any one of their streams. Doesn't matter if it's Call of Duty or League of Legends or StarCraft. But what that also will do is I think it will produce, I guess, a mainstream element for gaming where there will be, you know, the professional players will be there, and like professional athletes, you know, they're supposed to set an example for the other players, you know, younger players to go by. And so perhaps that might change some of this, you know, that 12, 13-year-old shit-talking culture that we see online, perhaps. If the pros aren't going to do it, if the pros are, you know, legitimate professionals now, broadcasted on TV, or like the last time I saw it was broadcasted on ESPN's website. You had to go find it, but it was there. So like I said, basically in a nutshell, I think it's an avenue for legitimization of the entire industry as far as a spectator sport is concerned.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree with that. There's a lot of potential for a lot of positive influence and spreading a positive image on gaming in general.
Well, not only that, yeah, I was gonna say, not only to go on that, the whole, like you just said, the positive aspect, because you're right, but we're also in this weird transitional period where gaming, the average gamer is something like 34 years old. So
is it really that high now?
Yeah, it's because our generation is getting older, and we grew up on games.
That's true.
And so we're getting older. You know, we're able to buy consoles. We're able to, you know, and sort of be more affluent as we get older and make more money. And the average gamer is like in their 30s. And so gaming isn't like the kids' form of entertainment like it used to be. Especially when you look at storylines that you really like, with like Heavy Rain. Wasn't that like a pretty adult storyline from what I recall?
I never played it, so I can't add to that.
Yeah, I played like 5 seconds of it, and I just put it down. I couldn't stand the controls, but
I played the whole thing. It was pretty dark.
Yeah,
sometimes.
So there are more than just like what we grew up with, like Mario Brothers and Zelda, and these very, I guess, you know, very black and white as far as the stories are concerned. So it just seems to me that, like I said, it makes it more of something that's a bit more accepted in society. I think it's becoming more accepted in society now, just people are growing up with video games like we did in each generation. But I think it helps to give it that extra little boost.
Yeah.
Especially if they're role models. That's pretty much what I'm kind of getting at.
Yep.
God, never ask anybody to be a role model. Fuck me. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, we never want that to happen. We never want, like, professional gamers to be considered fucking role models. Who's currently considered role models? NFL players and baseball players who fucking beat their wives and fucking kids and, you know, happily engage in steroids and stuff.
I
And
think
it's like,
role
oh,
models for
Congress,
how you engage
totally
in the
didn't do that.
gaming environment, not like life.
Yeah, I'll accept that. Not like a
role
life
model.
role model. See some team win a CSGO tournament and then it turns out they were all hopped up on goofballs. What are the kids going to think then? First of all, they're going to think, what the fuck is a goofball, I guess.
I did that shit.
That's some old man speak right there now.
Yeah, it is.
Whole thing.
All right, I think we've covered that enough. I'm going to move on to the next topic, and Tony, I'm going to have you jump off of this one because you have a lot of notes on this. You apparently had a lot to say. But this topic is from Krollman. So game publishers opening their own stores, such as Uplay and Origin, to avoid the 30% cut that Steam takes, as well as a better consumer experience when having your own store. Since Steam job is Steam and not the game, they should better control of it to the devs so that Steam doesn't need to play telephone and needing to do a refund. I'm not really sure. I think he kind of maybe had a little seizure in the middle of writing that. Sorry, Kroll, man. I'm sorry. But, Tony, go ahead and jump off, and I'll try and add to that as we go, because you definitely had a lot to say regarding this.
I did, and I kind of wish we would have got to it last week, because I think I was a little fired up. Not fired up in like a bad way, but I did have a lot to say. Basically, what it comes down to is I think that the big companies are willing to take that 30% surcharge because they're not going to have to deal with the customer service aspect. Most of these publishers, if they don't, that's it. I guess I should say if they don't have, or if they choose not to put their game up on Steam. So for somebody who puts their game up on Steam, if they do not have a public online distribution, and I don't know off the top of my head, I thought it was Uplay because I was looking at Uplay before I wrote those notes, and I guess I just couldn't figure out how to buy a game on Uplay. So that's the example I had, but I don't know off the top of my head of a publisher that doesn't have, so I guess Activision, right? Activision would be a good example of a publisher that does not have an online place to buy their game, so it goes through Steam. Because I think the idea is that if publishers have more control over their product and they can sell it themselves, and they could put companies like Steam out of business by eliminating the middleman, then somehow that is going to trickle down to us as gamers and consumers, and we're going to have a 30% discount on the game, which I think is ridiculous, because that's not going to happen. Because what's going to end up happening is if they don't spend that 30% surcharge to Steam and allow them to take care of all the customer service bullshit, like people calling up like, oh, my code doesn't work, or my game's not installed properly, or whatever. There's going to be whatever goes wrong with the game. And I know each company is going to have their own customer service tech support. But for refunds and shit like that, people who are pissy about it, they're like, I want my money back. Well, they're going to have to take that 30% they would have saved by getting the game on Steam, and they're going to have to invest that into their own sort of customer service apparatus, their own sort of, they're going to have to hire people, they're going to have to, start a whole new division. So the idea that we're going to see a 30% savings on games because Activision produces or publishes and sells their own games is a little ridiculous, because it's not going to happen. Like, it just economically won't happen. Plus, I don't know about you guys, because when we all thought that, oh, we're going to digital downloads, games aren't going to be $60 anymore. Guess what? They're still $60.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that convenience fee.
It's more expensive for me to buy a game off Origin that EA has published and devved with one of their, own companies. It's cheaper if I walk into a brick and mortar store and buy that game.
Really?
Than buy it off Origin. Like, it'll be like maybe 60, 65 bucks, sometimes 70 on Origin, and I'll get it in fucking PC World for like 45.
That's probably because they're, what are they, based over in North America? That might be one of the reasons. But yeah, the deals are a lot better if you get them, not from that source sometimes.
Yeah, like, they want to control pricing. And they want, really what it's all about more than almost anything else is demographic information on who's actually like buying your game. That's why you see so many games that even though they're sold through Steam, you still need to set up an account somewhere and possibly have a separate log on to get into that game. It's to get your demographic information. Like, you give your date of birth, maybe they ask for your address and whatever.
Right.
That's a pretty big deal for companies, is to know who specifically is buying your game. And if they feel like they're not getting that stuff fast enough from Steam, like, I don't know how Steam operates, but I doubt they have that many data miners employed when it comes to weeks like this, when they've got a huge amount of games, like AAA games are launching and you can buy them all through Steam, and then all those games want to know within the first 24 hours who's buying the game.
Right.
Ages, genders, locations. Who's buying it. And it's going to take them a little while to farm that out. There's a lot of reasons as to why a company would want its own storefront. But then, as Tony said, you're also accepting on a lot more running costs as well. Like, Steam don't run Steam for free. It's not like they're a zero-cost business. They have their own staff. They have all the shit that they have to look after, all bandwidth concerns, etc., etc.
Right. But
so there's no utopia, just because basically what I'm trying to hint at is there's no utopia because all of a sudden every dev, every publisher has their own storefront. It's not the way it works, and the market could never support it either. It'd be like imagining, back in the 90s, walking down the street and going, someday every company is going to have their own shop. They're not going to sell through game. They're all going to have their own shop. You'll walk into the EA store and buy an EA game.
Right.
It's not economically viable for most of these people to run it. They lack the experience, and they see no need to farm it out or to bring in the experience when they can just farm it out to Steam.
Yep.
Here, Steam, do this.
And it's in Steam's best interest because while they do have some games under their own, under Valve, I don't think they have that many games where they can be self-sufficient off their own titles that they sell. So a lot of their business is reliant on the business of other companies. It's in Steam, or it's in Valve's best interest to maintain an excellent customer support or customer service system, because if they don't have that, then why would customers keep coming back? Whereas with EA and Origin, if you want the game, you have to buy from EA regardless. So if Origin works or doesn't work, as long as they get the sale, fuck you. After that, they got your money, and it's not like if Origin folds up, EA can't keep selling games. They'll be like, okay, fine, we'll just go back through Steam. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Tony's absolutely right in that when it goes to the publisher's own storefront, you're not going to realize cost savings because it's just more money in the pocket of the publisher themselves. And if anything, you can expect customer service to go down. And isn't that the big thing with that EA that people complain about with EA when they buy games? If they have an issue with it, EA's customer support is fucking terrible. Only behind Comcast in terms of terrible customer service.
Pretty much.
You know what's I think really funny? Well, what I think is really funny is that for whatever reason, we as gamers, we still believe that, they're the people that produce games are the people that play the games, and so we have this belief that somehow developers are always on our side. But I think the studios are on our side. But when it comes to the business aspect, they don't give a flying fuck if we spend, if we want to spend less money. They want as much money as they can get out of us.
Yep.
So we'll never see that savings, which sucks. But I guess the alternative is to go out and produce your own game and give it away for free, I guess. You can manage.
Ooh. All right. Anything else on that one, or should we jump right into the next topic?
Let's jump.
Okay, I'm going to bounce around a little bit. I'm not really going in order on the document we have, but I see that Jess has a shit ton to say, and she hasn't really had much to say yet. So we're going to go into one from JFO the 5th. He said, I've been playing a lot of Sunset Overdrive lately and have been enjoying the hell out of it. With the Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 Guardians upcoming, my question is this. Will current and upcoming exclusives, plus the recent price drop, drive up Xbox One sales to eventually surpass the PS4? Jess, have at it. You have a shit ton of things you wrote down here.
Well, like I wrote, admittedly, I'm a PlayStation 4 fan. I don't have an Xbox One. I did have a 360, but not relevant. I think the price drop is indicative in and of itself of how how the Xbox is doing in sales. I know a few people have picked up the one just for Halo, but it's not been working at all. I think even the campaign somebody said was not working lately, and I don't think that's gonna bode well for how they feel about spreading word of mouth about Xbox One and how awesome it is. But I think it really just comes down to preference and demographics, because Xbox is from the 360. It's just kind of a more of a household name than the PlayStation is or was, in my opinion. So I think a lot of parents will be picking it up for their kids this holiday season. Not that, you know, you have to be a little kid to want an Xbox, but it just seems that right now, if you have an Xbox, you either have it because you love Xbox, you've had Xbox for a long time, you love Halo and you want to play it forever and ever, or you have a lot of friends that are on Xbox already and it's just convenient to have it. And I think this far into the release of the consoles, it's been, what, about a year, that kind of the communities that are going to have it and be on it for a while are already established. So I think the ability to play with people that you know and people that you want to play with is going to have more of an impact on who's buying what at this point in the life cycle of the consoles. And I know that one thing that Xbox has over PlayStation is Xbox Live, because even today our 6-hour outage of PSN, it's not always doing that well. I don't know if they're just having a hard time or what, but I know that I've been frustrated many a time paying for a premium system that is sometimes never working. Will the price drop help sales? Yes, definitely, I think it will. But will it pass PS4? Like, surge past it? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I think in terms of releases, exclusives, like Bloodborne, The Order, on PS4's Horizon, and the established franchises like Infamous, Uncharted, The Last of Us, I just think it has too much potential for it to kind of be overshadowed by the Xbox, which is kind of a Halo box right now, other than Sunset Overdrive, which J. Foe the Fifth said he was having a lot of fun with. But those were my thoughts on it.
Didn't the PlayStation, or didn't Sony just release a bundle, a PS4 bundle?
Yes, and now I can't remember the details. Scanner might, because he was the one that I heard it from.
Yeah.
They're doing a really good deal in the UK right now through Game, where you get the PS4, GTA 5, Last of Us Remastered, and I want to say Destiny, and like a year of PlayStation Plus for 400 sterling, which is a very good deal. And if they spread that out, what they'll probably do is sit back and they'll... Sony are in the spot where what they can do is they can sit back and they can kind of slowly move into the holiday season when people traditionally spend a lot of money and retroactively price. They don't need to proactively price. Xbox needs to proactively price. Sony get to just sit there and wait and watch the numbers, and if they decide that things are a little too low, you know, they're giving up too much market share or whatever, they'll just go, right, we'll chop whatever off the price of the PS4 and we'll stem this tide.
Right.
That's how they get to operate. They're in a blissful spot right now where they're so far ahead they can afford to lose ground and not have to react.
Yep, you're right. I actually just read a stat because I was curious to see what the difference was, and the PS4 is outselling the Xbox One by about 40%, which is actually fucking significant as hell. That's a huge difference in total sales between platforms. I guess to answer the question, no, I don't think it's going to even come close to getting the Xbox to even match the PS4 sales, never mind surpass it. A number of things would have to happen for that to happen. First off, Microsoft had actually come up with some ridiculously good exclusives that would make a shit ton of people really, really clamor for it. Like, okay, now that's a game we really need to get on. And it can't just be a good name. It's got to be a legitimately amazing game. Something that truly stands out from the rest of the pack. Maybe, you know, like a once in a 5-year kind of quality game. Maybe even a once in like an 8-year. You know, something, like I said, something that's out of the norm for overall quality. And on top of that...
Wait, wasn't that supposed to be Titanfall?
It was supposed to be Titanfall.
Yeah. Okay, I was like, wait a second.
Titanfall literally kept them alive. Like, people are
Yeah.
always weren't happy to go, oh, Titanfall didn't sell well. Titanfall sold incredibly well, like ridiculously well, and is the
I
only
think a lot
thing
of
that
people
kept
weren't a
them
lot of
even
people surprised by
remotely
that.
in the game. I wasn't. It's a good game.
No, but I think everyone didn't expect Titanfall to sell so well as a brand new IP.
Everybody expected Titanfall to either sell no copies and curl up in a corner and die, or sell 27 billion copies. There seems to have been no reasonable middle ground attributed to what the game could possibly achieve. They were like, it's either going to completely flat out fail or it's going to kill COD. How anything is supposed to kill COD is beyond me, especially a new IP.
Yeah.
But I think stuff gets called COD killer more because people want to see COD die.
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, than any actual attributes that the game they're looking at might possess.
Yeah.
You know, the COD killer is Minecraft.
Oh god, yeah. It actually is, because all those kids who are playing Minecraft right now are going to grow up demanding a very different kind of game than the people who are playing COD, and their player base is going to shrink.
Yep.
The Snoop, I think the only exclusive that I can think of off the top of my head for the Xbox One, even though it's only a limited exclusive, or has limited exclusivity, is the next Tomb Raider game. But that's not what you said. That's not a 5-year or once in a 8 or 5-year
so
title.
fucking mad.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
you're
so
right.
fucking mad.
And I don't think that storyline has any potential whatsoever to be that good of a game, because it's not new. Like, I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to have to be something completely new that a studio comes in, fucking goes all out, puts all the chips on the table, and makes that their home run. They're swinging for the fences with it. And
Well, I would
weird
argue that I think Tomb Raider, the direction they're taking this newest incarnation Tomb Raider, is new enough. I think it's familiar enough, but also new enough, and I think the writing, at least in what I thought was pretty damn good in that first title, as long as they followed up with a good sophomore title, I think now this is me just talking about generally the game. I think will be a pretty solid game, but as far as being that thing that pushes Xbox back up to on par or over the edge against PlayStation, I don't think so.
no, I didn't even get to finish that thought, because
Oh, sorry.
to get to no, it's fine. Make it really quick. It has to be that kind of game for Xbox, and as equally important, whatever upcoming exclusives for the PS4 need to fucking flop hard. They need to trip up. It has to be a combination, because the gap between the two is just too big for any ridiculously good Xbox exclusive to match, never mind even overtake what PS4 has done for sales. But yeah, I mean, Tomb Raider does have that potential. I mean, the reboot they did with the most recent iteration, I've heard nothing but really, really good things about it. I mean, the only negative things I heard about it were minor.
It's a really
I
good
like it a
game,
lot.
but it didn't set the world on fire with its initial sales. There's
Yeah.
a kind of there's a really strange thing happening with Tomb Raider, where when it first came out, it didn't really sell very well. It didn't sell to the point where Square Enix were happy to publicly say that they considered the game a failure, based off the money that they had put into it, because Square Enix are morons who they're honest
They
to
are.
God
They're
morons
pretty bad, yeah.
who put insane amounts of money into developing specific tech for games, which they then never really see come back, because a lot of the games suck. That's just the way it is. Tomb Raider didn't suck, but it didn't light the world on fire, and a huge amount of its sales came quite late into its life, after it started hitting progressively kind of more and more reduction in Steam sales. Lots of people picked it up and they went, oh, this game is really good.
I bought it for $5.
Yeah, so did I. I bought it for $5 as well. I
Yep.
would go back in time and give them 60. You know, I enjoyed the game that much. So I'm not too sure what Microsoft are actually trying to do. They're taking a medium performance title and wrapping it in a shroud of limited exclusivity as if it's going to move hardware, when it's not. I guarantee you the only reason they were able to do this is because they've pitched a certain percentage of the budget they're covering, and Square Enix are like, that's all we want. just a little
Right.
bit of money to develop it, because it's all just helping them recoup cash they still haven't gotten back from the original Tomb Raider and all of the cash they sank into that.
I got a question. It's just an idea that came to mind as to what else Microsoft could do aside from exclusive games to potentially start kind of overtaking the market share. Someone may have to step in on this because I don't know what you can do with consoles. But what if they were to offer an upgraded Xbox One? Almost like a next gen console where for the same price you get something that just surpasses the PS4's capability. So that pretty much every game that's going to come out 1080p 60 frames per second. And
won't happen.
They could do something where you could ship in currently sold Xbox Ones for like a $50 upgrade. And that
won't happen.
That's the only thing I could think of that would like
I
blow Xbox sales out of the water.
It's not worth eating that much of a loss. Like, they've already sold the console at a loss, and then they're going to take more of a loss to upgrade the console, resulting in a split market where a certain percentage of your players have, you know, spec A Xbox One, and a certain percentage of players have spec B Xbox One, and then needing to basically build two versions of every game.
That's true. Okay. Scratch my stupid idea.
To run on each one. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm politely pointing out things that imply you're dumb and then leaving it up to nature.
Oh, snap.
It's all right.
You know what, Stu, though, but my thoughts were exactly like in line with yours. The only way I think that they could recoup is if they actually had a purpose-built gaming console and not this home entertainment console that they have actually produced. And that right there was what shot them in the foot, because even before the Xbox One launched, when you were just looking at, what was it, E3 2 years ago or something like that now?
No, last year. Didn't it all just go on? Oh,
no, it sold last year, but remember what it was? It was announced the year before or whatever it was.
Was it only announced like 4 or 5 months before it went on sale?
No, it was like a year. I don't know. Scanner, we were watching it. We were watching the stream and we were watching the Sony. Anyways, the point is, though, is once they announced, like when you heard Xbox and then you heard PS4 and you looked at the two and what each does and the hardware for both of them, everyone was like, oh, the Xbox One is just not, it's like barely handy capable. It can't get out of its own way. And then when they keep adding on these features of this home entertainment box, everyone who's gonna buy a next gen console wants a damn gaming console.
Right.
Like,
that's where all the tech should have been put.
Yeah, well, because now I think Microsoft missed the boat or something, because look at TVs now. There are smart TVs that have apps built into them. Like, you don't need a home entertainment box that'll give you all the features that the Xbox One gives you when you could have some of those apps running on the TV itself.
Right.
You don't need that. So I think they shot themselves in the foot.
It sounds like a wonderful idea. You've got this one singular device on which you can watch TV and you can play your games and you can do all this shit that the 5 people in your house do. Those 5 people fucking hate each other.
Right.
You know, dads just came home from work. Moms just came home from work. These fucking kids won't shut the fuck up. You send them to their room to play their fucking idiot box while, you know, you do whatever. Like, that's the way, you know, happy families don't sit around like every night of the week, dad watching his sports ball game and tiny fucking Tim ranking up hard in COD. It's not the way it works. People like their space.
Yeah.
So you don't. It's a flawed model because it's based off an imaginary concept of everybody wanting to do the same thing at the same time all the time.
I'm looking at the chat, and Viper662 made a good point. What if they made Xbox Live free?
I still don't think it's enough because it's minor. What's that, like $5 a month?
Yeah.
What amounts to what, $60 a year?
Just about, yeah.
Either that, or they could offer one free title to every subscriber, like a year. Just one free.
All they need are good games. That's it. That's all they need are good games.
Well, I think the question though is if there's already a good game that's coming out on multiple platforms, PS4 and an Xbox One, what's gonna drive that one person who is actually still looking to upgrade? Oh, why do I want the Xbox One? Like, there needs to be something that totally sells somebody besides, them being sort of a habit purchaser. Like, oh, I'm already a loyal Microsoft Xbox user, so I'm just gonna buy the new Xbox One. There's nothing there to like take this unbiased buyer to persuade them, unless it's a killer bundle. That would probably be it. Maybe like a killer bundle.
I've started to believe that the concept of brand loyalty when it comes to gaming is something that is ethereal as a concept.
Yeah.
The market for a while was dominated by the PS2. Everybody and their dog had a PS2.
PS2 still is the most successful selling platform in gaming history.
Then the Xbox happened because they got a gen out, like a full year ahead of Sony.
Yep.
The 360 was out before the PS3.
Yep.
So of course they gobbled up a load of market share. I know a ton of people who switched from being PlayStation loyal to Microsoft because it was there earlier. So it's like it's this inflated sense of the Xbox 360's success in the marketplace based off its merit, when that's not really the case. They had a massive head start. If you're selling a pile of poo a year before the next guy is selling a pile of poo, you're going to sell a lot of shit.
Yep.
That's pretty much the way it works. So everything got a bit bent and twisted around this time, and we all, like, I'm guilty of it, we all started to think, oh, Xbox is a pretty dominant force in the console market. Is it really? And are we actually seeing the actuality of that now? Now that they launched pretty much the same time, pretty much the same tech, pretty much the same titles, they're getting their teeth kicked in sales-wise. So they're missing something. That brand loyalty, that's not doing shit for them right now. It's really fucking interesting. Like, I'm obsessed with the console market right now. I tweet about it a lot. Not because I have any, like, I have no dog in the race. If, like, I'm buying a PS4, the only reason I'm buying a PS4 is for Bloodborne. That is it. If that game came out Mac only, I would buy a fucking Mac and play it. I would buy whatever. I'd buy whatever I needed to buy to play that game. My loyalty is to the game, not the platform that it's coming out on. So I'm obsessed with the console market, and why right now, after this supposed dominance and expertise of Microsoft, it's not helping them right now, and it's hard to pinpoint why. Like, the exclusives on both sides, that's all completely subjective. They're all a bit meh to me, like, with the exception, obviously, of Bloodborne. The tech, very similar. There's no real differentiation between the two beyond, a few gigahertz here and a few bits of RAM there. It's weird, but for whatever reason, they can't get traction in the market, and it's like, I'm obsessed with trying to figure out why.
Yeah. Huh.
That's just my take on it.
Well, I think you're right, though, as far as the exclusives are concerned, because if you look at sports exclusives, Sony has the edge there. I mean, MLB, the show series is, I'm starting to feel it's flawed, but still, it's the only baseball series out since 2K stopped. So, sports plus, Uncharted is a huge following. So, back to what Snoo's original point was, is they need like a kick-ass, exclusive title that everybody's gonna want an Xbox One for.
Agreed.
And that's it. And Forza's not doing it.
Actually, Tony, your point about the MLB 2K, what was it you just said? I forget the name of the title of that game.
The show for PlayStation?
Yeah. That's actually another point we're going to jump in. Not now. That's going to be the next topic we cover after this upcoming one. All right. We've had our say regarding Xbox.
I'm just going to say one thing here. Viper added, what if Xbox went all digital? No physical games and sold them for less. What you'd be doing is you'd be dramatically decreasing the market of people that you could sell to,
Yeah, you would.
and you'd be cutting down on the actual value of the volume that you were selling. They'd be dead in a month. Anybody who goes physical only, it's hard out there for brick and mortar stores, like it really is. But the bigger ones, like, I'd love to know how many units your average Walmart sells of computer games. I'd love that data so bad. It'd be awesome to see that, like, and break it out all over the country, different Walmarts in different places. Like, it's not easy for a lot of places, but the ones that are, they're making bank off physical copies of games, because a huge percentage of them are bought by older people for younger people.
You know, and on that, don't you guys remember the backlash? Remember that backlash that Microsoft had? You know, the whole idea that they can't trade, you know, your game from one person to another if you want to let someone borrow a game. And Sony did that really funny, like, here's how you share your games with your friends. You're like,
Yeah.
boop, give it. I think the digital only there's a problem in digital only because the console market, you know, is a casual market. They want to be able to buy a game, trade it in, and pick up a new title. They're not going to want to hold on to this $60 title when they can go ahead, especially sports games. Sports games, if they go digital, like fully digital, that's a really tough sell. Just because, like, if I own MLB 14 and MLB 15 comes out, I have no need for MLB 14. I want to trade that bitch in and get MLB 15. Same with Madden games. So I don't ever think that certain games, well, certain games will probably should stay like disc based. That's my opinion. And I just, like you were saying, Scanner, I don't think that would do anything. They would do nothing good for the Xbox to have them digital only, even if they reduce the cost.
Yeah, actually, an interesting thought based off what Tony said about a new iteration of a game comes out, he wants to hand in the old one. That's almost like a loyalty scheme. You buy your game, you play for a year, and the new one comes out, and you trade in the old one. You know, you get your $5, $6, $7 off or whatever because it's a, you know, old game of the new one's right out there, but it's still money. Like, it's still like a little reward. It's like, thank you for playing this game for a year. Now upgrade the game. Here's a little discount. It's all this little psychological shit that works.
I mean, the only
within
thing,
the market.
because Scanner, you're unusual in that you like football, American football.
Yeah.
And so, like, for American football games, the only way for digital download to work is if there was, the only way I can think of it is like iRacing. Basically, we have the same service, and then they just upgrade and you update, but it's a member paid service. But if you're to do it like a game, you have to buy it. That means if you would have to be able to basically upgrade your game from year to year, not just update rosters and crap, but like graphics, new features. It would basically be a patch, major yearly patch, but you'd still have to pay for it. And I don't know how that would work. Jess, you might know better than us since you're a tech savvy
Smart.
person. Yeah.
I think that'd be way too complicated. I don't know. I don't know anything about that on the game side.
Oh. You don't think like constantly upgrading a title like that in major patches that probably would just fuck something up down the road?
Well, I think it would depend because I mean they have that I don't even know what it's called, the premium that the consoles charge is like 10,000 a patch or some bullshit that Battlefield tried to feed us. Wasn't that it? Wasn't it like thousands of dollars to roll out?
Yeah, it is. It's a
significant
very,
patch?
very expensive process to patch something on. Well, it
Any
was
game to go
back
through the
in day.
PlayStation Network
I
or
don't
Xbox
believe they
Live.
still operate that way though. Either console.
I bet it still costs a heap of money. It may have come down, but I still think it does cost a heap of money for them to go through the whole fucking verification process and approval process and everything. Make sure that whatever they're dumping onto their network isn't going to fuck everything up. Got to pay a lot of good working people, a lot of good money to keep that consistency up. Let's move on to the next topic. I think we've beaten this one up pretty well. This one actually should be a quick hit one, and I'll jump off with it. But this is from Limit. How do you guys feel about gaming headsets and the way they market or price them? And this is interesting because I just started looking up new headphones because as much as I love the sound of my Plantronics Gamescom Commanders, they're not comfortable for like really long gaming sessions. So I asked Twitter for some suggestions and stuff, and what I found today just kind of reaffirmed what I already knew / felt about pretty much the marketplace for any goods. Headsets are no different from anything else. There are companies that will prey on the lazy and ignorant consumers out there. Case in point, Beats headphones. They're an utter shit product, and you pay a metric fuck ton of money for that utter shit product. But you know what they do have? They have an incredibly good and hugely successful ad campaign. And that gets all these stupid, lazy, ignorant people that are really just too lazy to look up and actually figure out what exactly it is that they're buying beforehand. That's where they're getting their sales from. Yep, and
he met him in the hood.
Gaming headphones are no different from any other product line out there. You will have things like that, like Turtle Beaches or Beats, headphones like that, where they're not really great quality, but they're a well-known brand because they have a very, very good marketing campaign, and people are going to buy them, and you're not getting your bang for your buck out of those. But if you actually put the time and effort into researching what you're going to get, there's a good range of products where you actually get what you're paying for. You can go out and spend $40 on a half decent pair of headphones, and they'll live up to that $40 price tag. If you really want to go out and get something really nice, you can get $150, $250, $300 pair of headphones. You're actually getting your money's worth. You're actually getting a $250 headset where the sound quality, comfort, and just the overall longevity of that product is going to be well worth your investment. So as far as how I feel about the way they market them, same way I feel about how any company or any industry markets their product lines. It's no different. It's all the same. It's business. You prey on the lazy and ignorant where you can to maximize profits, but then you offer legitimate quality products at fair price points at a broad range of prices so that you still maintain a good, solid customer base or consumer base so that you don't go under when people realize that your most popular product is a fucking sham.
You do realize that even in, like, I'm using this term a lot today, but even in like brick and mortar shops, let's go back to Walmart. Everything on the shelf in Walmart is planned where that is based off what they want to sell in the highest volume, because there's parts of the shelves that you pay more attention to.
Oh yeah, it's all head games.
And some stores and chains will charge companies for shelf placement.
Yeah, it's like end caps. The end caps at all stores, especially grocery stores, those are big money placements. That's usually why you see your sodas and potato chips and shit on the end caps, because those are the first things you see when you walk in the store.
Just as a guy who used to work at a grocery store, it's also eye level too.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Scanner?
Did you see that picture doing the rounds on the internet? I think it was last week, where it was like the end of a shelf in a store, and the bottom was like nothing but Mountain Dew, and then this shelf of Call of Duty, and then the top was all Doritos. It was fucking hilarious. I loved it.
Anyone else on the top of your headphones?
I was gonna weigh in. Well, I was gonna weigh in on that. You know what it is? It's like you were saying. It's just like any other product. They're selling an image. They're selling a feeling. And I'll tell you what Beats got recently was a lot of publicity. You remember when Kaepernick got fined for wearing Beats?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Oh my God! Because what was like the official NFL headset is like some bullshit right now. I don't know what it is, but it's not Beats. But he was wearing Beats and he got fined to like, I don't know, a ridiculous amount for wearing.
Yeah, it was like headset. $5,000, I think. $5,000 for wearing a fucking severely overpriced pile of crap.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like it's that, and then when we're talking as far as like gaming headsets, it'll be the same thing. Like you see those headsets that are sold by Astro, those are like the official MLG headset. Well, people are gonna buy that. It's like the same thing, like Nike or Converse or whatever. They'll make you run faster, jump higher bullshit. Well, it's like, oh, they're MLG's using these headsets, so I'll be able to sound whore better because these are the Astro what the fuck ever they call them.
Right.
It's just crap. It's just a load of crap. It's funny because it seems like the best headsets are the ones, they're so obscure. Usually the people who know the good headsets are people who work in like the audio visual business.
Yeah, the best headsets are the ones that are aiming to give you an actual representation of the sound profile from the game, not stuff with bass boost or mid boost or any of this boost shit. You want an honest, as close to perfect representation of the sounds that either like if you're listening to music, the musicians, or if you're listening to a game, the sound engineers were going for within the game. Like, I think it's hilarious because I've got my big TV is hooked up to my studio monitors because it's all like I don't want to listen to the shitty fucking the TV speakers, so I've got it hooked up to the studio monitors, and the studio monitors are designed to provide balanced audio, not too much bass, not too much in the highs, not too much in the mid, just balanced. And listening to movies that I've watched a couple of times over different sets of speakers and stuff, it's just insane, the difference. It changes the whole kind of tone and mood of some of the movies. It's very weird.
I gotcha. I follow.
Like, you got some dude sat there playing COD listening to the audio on his headset, and his headset is sticking 10 dB onto the bass that just does not need to be there. It's like each gunshot is like, it's like yeah. It's a party.
Every time he gets in a firefight, it's like fucking someone just dropped the bass. Dubstep.
It's fucking lunacy. It's like loud isn't necessarily good.
No, you're
when
right.
it comes to audio. Like the loud, like signals will degrade past certain volumes and all kinds of stuff. You don't just needlessly push things. You find space and everything breathes and everybody can hear everything in detail. That's what you want.
Catching up on the chat while you were talking.
So, Snoob, what do you think? Are you going to jump into your topic for today?
There was still another topic. We can discuss it or not. I didn't really have... Oh, I lied. I actually did have a lot to talk about regarding it. But we don't have to. We are already about an hour in.
Oh, okay, so here's... Well, what do you want to wrap it up soon?
No, I just... there's a lot we can cover, so I'll toss this one up. One of the other ones, another question was from... Oh, no, I take it back. I didn't add anything to this. One was... Two from Limit. One was talking about our opinion on the yearly releases of sports games. So for NBA, MLB, or NFL, things like that. I didn't really have anything to add to that. There's not a whole lot can be said. Tony, you kind of covered it earlier. You and Scanner.
Kind of randomly went into it. I think the only thing I want to add to that, because I just saw it on our notes right here, the only thing I really want to add to that is that with certain titles, like, say, MLB The Show series, they're suffering from the monopoly effect right now, because there's really nothing. What they're doing every year is adding a little bit more spectacle to the game, and they're not working on the fine mechanical problems with the game. There are some problems with the game that, as a long-time baseball player, they irk the shit out of me. And I have this laundry list, and I've been meaning to do this sort of a grading of the MLB 14 title and just point out where the problems are in the game and where I hope they, what they do to fix them. But for like year-to-year titles, Madden's also another good example where it's just like, I think the developers have like palsy or something like that, because like they jump all over the place as far as like what's wrong with the game. They can't seem to fix it. They're like too busy trying to make this awesome next title. And I don't know, when was the last time you played Madden, Snoob?
That's a tough question. Well, from the perspective of actually buying a Madden game and going out and playing it. Hang on, I have some games left on my shelf, and I don't see Madden up there. I don't think I bought Madden for PS3. Anyone want to buy some PS3 games? I got about 10 left.
Everything must go.
Give them all to you for $10.
Well, my point is, though, it's just like something drove us away from Madden, and then Madden 25 was apparently a shit show, and I didn't touch it. And Madden 15, I was skeptical about. But there's something to be said for yearly release titles. It always seems like for sports games, it's always every other year is the good title.
Yeah.
So whatever the good title is you found, which I think was like the last one that I played that I liked was like 2011. So the next good one would have been like 13. But I didn't bother because 12 was such a shit show. So that's the only problem with that. It just seems like even though it's the same game essentially, they do something and it screws up the whole thing, and you're stuck with what you feel is like a subpar game for the entire year until the next title comes out.
Yeah, it's like they're just trying to add content for the sake of adding content so they can justify selling you the next new game every single year, year in and year out.
I mean, let's be realistic now with the internet. It's a little hard when you can update the rosters. The rosters update like throughout the season for any sports game. I don't, obviously he mentions wrestling or whatever. But when you can update the rosters, you really have to do something for reals to like justify spending $60 for that next year. And so when they do try to make changes, sometimes they're not really good about it. I'm kind of curious to see where, because the issues that I have with MLB 14, it being a multi-platform game, PS3, PS4, I want to see what MLB 15 looks like when it's hopefully exclusively PS4 game. I doubt that's going to happen because they were still selling MLB games for the PS2 up to like 2010 or something like that.
Yeah.
But when it's developed for the PlayStation 4 and not this cross, like, okay, we'll develop it and then also just kind of work on this other version. So I might change my tune next year. But for me, it's, it's a long and difficult topic, but it is what it is.
All right. I'm trying to see what's next. Jess, I thought you had something else. I thought there was a topic up here that you wrote a lot on, but I'm probably thinking of something from
My
last
host
week.
topic?
Yeah, well, I think that's where we can go. What do we got here for time? Yeah, we go for another 20 minutes. There was a topic I did want to cover. It was from Limit, releasing unprepared games. We'll save that for next week. That's a good holdover because that's going to take a long time.
Let me get my teeth into another Ubisoft title, and then I know how much of a fucking kick.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Then, well, all right. So, just so everyone kind of gets a precursor or heads up for next week, the question from Limit was releasing unprepared games. Let me just follow up by saying, Battlefield 4 and GTA Online. That is going to be a very meaty subject, given obviously Battlefield 4 and then Watch Dogs and now Assassin's Creed Unity, and Far Cry 4 is about to release, so we'll have something to actually say about that next week. But we'll hold off on that.
Okay, so that means that everyone in the stream, you have homework. Your teacher's talking right now. You have homework. You have to play Assassin's Creed Unity. You have to play Far Cry 4.
Only if you already have it.
Yeah,
That's
just
why.
for God of God.
I'm not telling you to go buy it. But you should have bought the
Just to
reading
be
material
clear.
before. You should have bought the reading material before the week started.
Yeah.
Putting that out there.
All right, so we'll jump into host topics. Everyone had a host topic for last week. We didn't get to because again we're on a time constraint.
Mine last week was great.
Was it?
Yeah.
All right. Let tell you what. You jump off. You have it. I see you're in the document reading it. So go right ahead, and then I will update the topic on the stream as you start talking.
Oh, mine from last week?
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, I know
Okay.
you've got a couple of points in there. Actually,
Well, mine
it's just-
from last week was Destiny, 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 boobs. So that's it for me.
if you want to discuss Destiny, knock yourself out. It's,
No,
it's
no,
host
no.
topic session.
I'm
You do
good.
what you want.
Discuss Destiny
What
when
was
the
that,
DLC
what was that
comes
fourth
out.
topic again?
Boobs.
Boobs.
We can talk about boobs. I feel like
Let's talk
bags
about
of sand.
boobs.
Bags of sand.
What the
Yes.
fuck?
Whose boobs are you squeezing?
What?
Dude,
Scared. What?
never let your wife watch this podcast.
Does no one get that fucking reference? It's from the movie The 40-Year-Old Virgin with Steve Carell. When he's like
Oh,
first talking to
God.
everyone, they're all hanging out, and they're like, and, I don't know, they're talking about hooking up, and Steve Carell's like, yeah, boobs are great. I feel like bags of sand, and everyone's like, hold up, you haven't touched a titty?
You know one for this.
I can't fucking believe no one got that.
I haven't seen the
Dude
movie in
in
years.
Jamie's apartment, he works in his shop. He cracks me up.
All right, Jess, go ahead, take off with your topic.
Uh, my topic was the increasing inclusion of online co-op and MMO elements in AAA games lately across every platform, not just PC. Like Destiny is entirely co-op. Dying Light that's coming out is gonna be co-op. Daisy, AC Unity has the co-op. Far Cry 4 has co-op. Dragon Age, Inquisition, The Division's an MMO. Um, I was just wondering, as a discussion topic, would it be good or bad to focus on this element? So, like, will relying on your enjoyment of playing with friends discourage the development of a well done story, like Destiny? Or
Oh,
will it help the world feel more alive? And do we think that will transition entirely from traditional single player campaigns to like campaigns that are entirely optional as co-op, like same campaign instead of having a separate mode for each? That was what I came in my head today.
There's a lot of single player games. If I could play them with somebody else, I would have. And
Same.
I
What?
would have really enjoyed the experience. But there's other single player games I would never allow anybody else to intrude upon my experience. Like Dark Souls. My first playthrough of a Dark Souls game will happen offline. You're not like, even though it will take me about 8 seconds to fucking kill anybody who invades my game, I don't want you here. This is my game and I'm exploring it and I'm experiencing it, and get the fuck out with your bullshit. Like after I go through it the first time, let the invaders come and die. I don't really care. They can't ruin anything. They can't pull me out of whatever it is that I'm immersed in. Something like Infamous single player storyline that I just thoroughly enjoyed. I would never let anybody intrude upon that with co-op. But other stuff I definitely would. But it's so hard to figure out
What would
kind
work?
of, yeah, what I would and wouldn't accept as co-op. Plus, you're entering into all kinds of other shit, like it being really good for companies if everything is online co-op because it's effective DRM. Um, all kinds of interesting things. But I'd like to see more well done co-op. Absolutely, I'd love to see it. Just don't sacrifice potentially very strong singular experiences simply to shoehorn in a bit of co-op.
Right.
Like let me have an option maybe. That'd be nice. Like Watch Dogs. That whole invasion thing in Watch Dogs. Why would I ever want to let somebody, some asshat, come into my game and hack me?
Screw with
It's
you? Yeah.
stupid. Run them over with a car and just like drive over and back, and you do it once, you're like, oh, this is dumb. Or the funniest one, because I didn't turn it off straight away, I wanted to see how annoying it was going to be to the experience, was this guy comes in and I'm chasing him and he just fucking runs straight out in traffic and gets creamed by a truck. It was fucking, like, it was genuinely one of the best moments I experienced with Watch Dogs, because that game was shit. But I still found it to be intrusive and I just turned the option off.
I'm really scanning with you right there, because the first time it happened to me, I was in the middle of a mission or some shit and you get pulled out of it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it happened like
Stupid.
every like 2 minutes you're getting this like so and so wants to whatever, wants to do an online, I'm like, no, and I got tired of the notifications coming up, so like I just turned it off. It got annoying. There are certain games, and Watch Dogs is one of them, Assassin's Creed is another, Tomb Raider, these third person, I guess, shooters, I guess. Now they're open world, but those are titles that I think I'd rather play alone. Like I get the, like, what's great about Unity is that you can actually go through and do your co-op, like go in and do that co-op mission together. But I think for those type of games, I'd rather do it alone. That's just like, anything that's story driven. I hate how it's dependent upon other people. Like, oh, well, here's a good one. Borderlands. Borderlands is a great example of a game. I don't get a chance to game that often anymore, but I always hate starting Borderlands because inevitably what happens is, like, I'll start playing Borderlands, a group of four will get together, and then usually at least 2 out of the 4 will, like, race on to finish the story before I get a chance to even get to, like, level 10.
Right, yeah, and it throws
And-
off the whole balance of it, and it just kind of ruins
Yeah,
the
because
experience.
then it's like, yeah, because then you want to experience it with your friends, but then they're like, oh no, go this way, do this, pick up this gun. I'm like, I don't want you to tell me how to do the level. I want to like do it together. Like, let's do it for
Yeah.
the first time together.
Right.
So I think it's with Borderlands, you know what you're getting yourself into because that is a part of the game. So as long as you know what you're getting yourself into as far as the MMOs are concerned, that's fine. But like Scanner said, it is awful when it's sort of shoehorned in there just for the sake of having it. And I haven't done the co-op stuff for Unity yet, but because it's isolated from the main story, at least from what I can tell, like I don't know if there's any plot points that are given away through the co-op or not. But because it seems like it's isolated, it doesn't bother me so much because like Watch Dogs, you can just not do it.
Yeah. I'm indifferent to having the whole co-op or multiplayer inclusion of games so long as the experience and the overall design is seamless and organic. I haven't played Watch Dogs and I barely watched anything, but from what I'm hearing just from this one conversation, it sounds like that it was neither one of those when the co-op aspect was brought in. It sounds forced and certainly not seamless. It was a more jarring experience where you're kind of going along and all of a sudden, hey, there's a fucking player here. Like, oh, well, I guess what about this thing I was doing? No, do this thing. Okay. So that's a really jarring experience, and it doesn't flow well. Anytime you throw out the flow of anything, that's bad. You want that seamless integration of everything so that it all feels natural. Everything just kind of feels like it all fits in and everything's molded together perfectly. If you can achieve that, then yeah, I could see it happening in any game. But the moment you try and force it, it's bad. I guess it kind of goes without saying, but it's something that I felt like had to be kind of pointed out in those terms. But that's what it comes down to for me.
One thing I would love to see, myself and Squantoon were actually talking about this in TS the other night. One thing I would love to see is co-op become more than simply sharing. Everybody shares exactly the same experience. The only real difference is you're standing in a slightly different part of the area. Like, you know, when you're playing Borderlands or when you're playing Destiny, you're all in the same area, you're all doing the same thing. And while it is fun and all, you can do a lot more, I think, with a co-op game. Like, it would be incredibly difficult to do, but I imagine it's in gaming's future where you've got 2 or 3 or 4 characters who are in different areas of the world doing different things, and I have no idea what is happening to you. I can't see it. I can only hear you, you know, in the TS or in the in-game comms or whatever. And what you're doing is vital to the success of us all as a group, and what I'm doing is vital to the success of us all in the group. And there's a genuine shared tension there that's based in the unknown aspects of what everybody else is trying to achieve, and the fact that you yourself don't want to be the failing factor. You don't want everybody else to achieve what they're trying to do, and you fail. And you're the reason why they can't progress in the game, and you're the reason why everybody has to like redo their section or whatever. It would also add enormous replayability to the game, as it would basically be 4 almost interconnecting effective campaigns for you to play. Like, okay, I'm going to be character A tonight, and you start as character B, and we'll play through the whole game. I'll be A and you be B, and then we'll switch, and you be B and I'll be A. Like, I'd love to see that. Like, the characters can come together, obviously, for certain missions, and all be in the same player area and shit. But imagine if, like, set a scene like you need to break into a research center, and Snoov needs to go off to this part of the research center and take out the alarm system, and I have to go here.
We're fucking failing every time.
and take out these guards and prepare to get away, and Jess and Tony have to go in together and sneak around and snicky stab and take the shit, and then we all meet up and it's a big gunfight on the way out. It'd be fucking balls awesome. You'd be like, Tony, where the fuck are you? I've got the car ready. And Tony's like, I'm trying, dude. I'm killing all these guys. I'm coming as fast as I can. And he'd be like, fucking this game is amazing.
Dude, that actually does sound like a fucking fantastic idea. You know what? It kind of reminds me of... It sounds almost like a more complex and elaborate EVE Online. Because as I understand EVE Online, it's a monstrous open world kind of concept where you can do...
Open universe.
Different things on different planets that impact your team on other planets, and even though you're all kind of doing your own thing in different regions, it's all in the end benefit your team as a whole. But what you're suggesting sounds a little bit more complex and on a smaller scale. And actually, I'm extremely intrigued by the idea, because that would be awesome. And you're right, that would have extensive replayability.
I think personally the game industry should just pool their resources and pay me for my ideas. I'll give them to them reasonably cheap as well. Reasonably cheap.
Reasonably cheap.
Yeah.
I just
Like
need a
for free.
healthy 6-figure income, please.
Percentage of gross, man. I'm a confident guy.
There you
I
go.
don't need money up front. Percentage of gross.
Nice. See, that's a smart man right there. There's no ceiling.
Robert Downey Jr. right there, yeah.
I learned my lessons from George Lucas. When you believe in your idea, fucking percentage of gross. That's the way that shit works.
Didn't George Lucas, wasn't he able to
Fuck
retain
everything up.
100% of...
The merchandising
Yeah.
money?
Yeah, there was a term I was looking for. I thought there was... but I guess that's just it. He was able to get 100% of the merchandising royalties that would come from it.
Yeah. After American Graffiti, they really they were willing to let him do like whatever it was that he wanted to do as a project, and they he promised to be able to do the first Star Wars movie for quite cheap, budgetary wise, because he was doing pretty clever shit to get the special effects going and stuff, and they offered him $500,000 to direct, and he made a deal where he'd do it for 50,000, all the merchandising, and he got final cut because he felt like he got fucked over with THX and American Graffiti because they took his final cut from him and fucked up his movies as far as he was concerned. Even though American Graffiti did very well, he was kind of angry and he wanted to keep that final cut, and they were like, yeah, no problem, because they were convinced it was going to fail. It was a contractually obligated film that all parties had to do, and they were like, let's just let this kid fuck up, and when we shot him, and then he made Star Wars,
And he became a billionaire.
wheelbarrows of money would pour forever into his fucking mouth, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Until he sold to Disney 2 years ago?
Yeah, for like $2 billion.
4.1 bill.
Was it 4.1?
It was over 4.
Holy shit.
Fucking
I don't think of
$4
Minecraft money
billion.
because that's nuts.
Yeah. And I think Disney's going to turn that into a fucking cash cow. They're going to make that money back in like no time.
Yeah.
They'll probably get
everything because they're smart. Disney are actually amazing me with how fucking smart they've been with their bigger purchases. Like when they bought Pixar, they just bought Pixar and then they left it intact. And when they bought the Marvel thing, they left everybody in place.
Yeah.
They didn't fuck with anything. They didn't fire anybody. They didn't change what anyone was doing. They bought people who were passionate about the films that they wanted to make, and they let them make them.
Yeah. But,
And
They're so glad they did, aren't they?
it's interesting about the Pixar thing.
Age of fucking Ultron, bro.
Yeah. That does look good. The interesting thing about Pixar, what was it? Steve Iger? I know his last name's Iger. He was the last CEO for Disney. And so they contracted out to Pixar to make X number of movies under the Disney brand. And I can't remember what it was. And so Pixar started making them. They got Toy Story and then whatever came up with that. And then Pixar started making sequels. And Disney's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Sequels don't count under the number of movies you're contracted for. And Pixar was like, well, fuck you guys. Yes, it does. They had a big fight about it. But Pixar had him by the balls because Iger or Geiger, whatever the hell his name was, he fucking cashed in all his chips on Pixar because that was the future. And he was right about that. But he fucked himself because he took away his bargaining chip because he shit-canned the entire, old-school Disney animation studios. There was nothing left. All they had was all the money they threw at Pixar. So Pixar's like, what are you going to do? Because we'll walk. We'll fucking fold up and you're fucked. What are you going to do? So Disney had no choice but to buy Pixar or their movie franchises was going to be gone. They'd have to start over and they would have had a big window of absolutely no movies coming out. It's a little interesting tidbit about Pixar. I'm very passionate about Pixar. They're the whole ideals that they built that. I can't tell you how many times I watched that in a while because that's one of my son's favorite movies. He fucking loves it.
Did you see that documentary on Pixar? It's on Netflix right now. It's really good.
Is it really?
It's only, it's like 30 minutes long, right?
Oh, I'm gonna go watch it after this. No joke.
Really good. It's great as well because Disney really get their comeuppance over the course of it. Disney are the villain and Pixar is the princess. It's great.
All right. We got about 5 minutes left. The goal was to finish this up about 9:30. Stream, excuse me for me. I'm going to fuck up the chat window so I can go back up and find Viper's question. And he had tagged all of us. There it is.
Gaming in one word.
If you guys could describe the current situation of gaming right now in one word, what would it be? Who wants to take that first? I'll take it. Shenanigans. It's just a bunch of fucking shenaniganery. Don't look at me like that, Tony.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm so
I would say
conflicted.
precarious.
Precarious. I
That's
was
a
gonna
good
say
word.
dreary, but I've barely gotten into Assassin's Creed Unity, so the fanboy in me is hoping that it's gonna go well. But I'm 5% in. It's early.
Oh shit.
And I actually really want to pick up Rogue too. I'm quite interested in that.
I've heard Rogue actually has a better, more enjoyable storyline.
I haven't heard anything about it
would
yet.
believe it.
Scanner, what was
Right.
your one word?
What's my what?
One word that would best describe the gaming industry right now.
Fucked.
Fucked. Fucked, dreary, precarious, and my stupid shenaniganery. It's like they're just fucking around up top. Like all the CEOs is like, what should we do this year? And
They'll buy it.
Right, it's like they made their own personal set of dice. They just wrote fucking fuck all words and terms on it, and they're like fucking roll 'em. Like fuck up main franchise. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like that. It feels like they're trying to move things in the wrong direction. Like, I had this incredibly interesting discussion with a chap on Reddit about Assassin's Creed Unity. Now, this guy knew stuff about game development that I just don't know. All kinds of technical side of stuff, and he was talking about the size of the crowds in Assassin's Creed Unity and the number of draw calls that DirectX can handle and why it runs like shit on PC. And it was just, I just asked him, how did nobody see this coming? And he goes, there's only one way. Nobody looked. They knew that this was going to happen. It's like buying a car and being surprised that the car can't fly. Like, there's no way it was going to run well on PC because of 1,000 reasons that all these devs would have known, but they found themselves in a position where they needed to put it on PC anyway. And it's like, okay, that is super interesting. But why? Like, why was this large crowd such a fascination for Ubisoft? Why was it something that they want to achieve? And it was for no other reason than to say that they had achieved it. The same as Levolution in Battlefield 4. After you kind of take away the shine of it, it's little more than a gimmick. It doesn't have a massive impact on anything. But it was a massive part of the branding. Why? Because of the implication that something amazing was happening in game development that simply isn't amazing. It's standard break your game shit, from what I can tell. It's not amazing make your game better shit. The fuck is wrong with the cat?
Being a cat.
So yeah, it's just weird. It's just, I'm not like... Rockstar have my attention with the whole first-person perspective thing in GTA. That's pretty interesting stuff. Bloodborne has my attention. The Division and Siege are slowly but surely receding into the back of my head as games I once gave a shit about.
Yep.
They're losing me. Like AAA devs and publishers are losing me. Why the fuck would I care about those games when next year stuff like Titan Souls and Hyper Light Drifter and these kind of indie games are coming, which are genuinely going to be amazing?
You're right. And
Like, anyone who's disappointed in games they bought over the last year, buy something like Shovel Knight, and all that disappointment will wash away. Spend $8 on Shovel Knight, and it'll be gone, because you'll see a genuinely interesting, well-developed, well-designed game where the people making it understood their limitations.
right, you're not expecting much from a $10 game to begin with anyway. You're not expecting AAA development from a $10 game, so what you're expecting for overall quality and enjoyment is scaled back to match your investment.
Yeah, and it's far more easily surpassed. If I spend $60 on a fucking game, I better have the time of my life.
You're right.
It better transport me back to my youth when Mortal Kombat was the greatest fucking shit I'd ever seen, because you could rip a guy's fucking head off.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
You're right.
It was amazing.
If $60...
Look what I did, mommy. Fatality.
In the grand scheme of things, $60 isn't a shit ton of money. Yeah, it's a decent little chunk of change for some people, but it's not like break the bank kind of cash. But it is the most you can spend on a normal title. So at this point, it's got to be really good. I mean, there's so many games out there, especially in the indie market, which seems to be flooded lately. Not that that's a bad thing. You can go, I mean, $10, $20, $30, that goes a long fucking way for titles. If you want to spend $60 on a normal day in Steam, you could buy a dozen games.
Yep.
And they're all, and you get them at great prices. That's not even like buying AAA games that have come down, you know, way low on prices. There's a lot of good games to be found out there for like $10 that it's like, so you look at all these AAA games that want the highest amount you can spend per title. It's like, why would I take a gamble on that now when I know I can go spend $10 in a game that, yeah, I may only play it for 50 hours, but I spent $10 on it. And
yeah,
I
exactly.
fucking enjoyed the shit out of all 50 hours I played it, versus I am kicking and screaming the whole way through 100 hours on your $60 game. And my return on investment's not the same.
Dude in the TeamSpeak, Aaron, spent $4 on Mount Your Friends. He's got like 60 hours in that game.
I remember him telling me that.
It's like he plays the shit out of that game. He goes online and he's like, right, I'm gonna find me a lobby and I'm gonna beat some guy's ass at fucking Mount Your Friends. He loves that shit, and that's $4 for something that's entertained him for fucking 60 hours plus.
Yep.
It's that individual experience that I want, and I'm getting it more from indie stuff than I am from AAA.
See, I spent $10 on Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball. I got 22 hours on it. I've enjoyed every single fucking minute that I've played in that game. And I'll continue to play it. I do play it from time to time. I bought this other weird racing game. Where the hell is it? Trackmania. I got 7 hours in it. I spent $3 on it. I spent 6 hours in Trackmania Stadium. Actually, I think, Scanner, you bought one of those for me. But they're both like $3 a piece. They were chump change. Hotline Miami you bought me. Oh, I thought I got a lot more time in that. But I think at the time you bought it for like $2. I got over an hour in it.
Yeah, it was like cheap as shit when I picked it up for him. That game is legit though, and Hotline Miami 2 is coming out next year as well.
Nice.
So
there's just so many good games out there for such a good price. I'm gonna do
a quick spoiler warning. Yeah, my top 10 games of the year so far, 7 of the games on that list are indie games.
Nice.
Damn.
Like, that's quite the divergence. Just because so many AAA games were just disappointing. And not even with me being especially mean towards them. Not like having a vendetta against the system or the industry or the way they were operating or anything like that. They just didn't entertain me massively. Shut up, cat. I'll skin you. I meant to mute my mic.
I'm glad you didn't. By the way, I think I see T. I do.
Yeah,
I see T in your window.
Background.
Wandering around the background.
Yeah. Should make her come say hi.
Nope. She'll beat me.
All right. We've covered a lot.
Because you're going to beat me. Oh, yeah, she's happy to beat me.
So that's what the girls like. Ooh.
Okay.
All right, I think that's a good point to call it quits for the night. We've covered just about everything. We've got a few topics left over we can cover for next week. In the meantime, this will go up on my channel, youtube.com/Shustybang, on Wednesday. That's kind of the schedule I'm going with. This is always going to be my go-to Wednesday video. Until I happen to get another game that provides more content, then I'd like to push this back to Tuesday, upload it the very next day. But I screwed up and I never got episode 1 uploaded on Dawnbreaker Gaming. That's my fault. I never got the MP3 download so that you guys can pull it from iTunes, so that those who want to listen to it on the go, make it easier. I promise I will do it for this one because I know that coming in
Do it
at
for
an
both.
hour and a half now, not many people are going to be able to sit around and actually watch on YouTube. So I know being able to pull that MP3 will be hugely beneficial for some people. For others, like I said, I mean, you guys, if any of you guys missed any part of this and you want to catch it all, it'll be up on the channel on Wednesday, usually up right in the middle of the day, like 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. For episode 3, we're going to stick to these Monday nights, roughly 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time start time. It's 5 p.m. Pacific Time and 1 a.m. GMT. Did I get GMT right this time?
For once.
Sounds right to
For
me.
once. I think I said GTM. I don't know what I said last time.
Said GST.
GST. That's what it was. Okay.
GSP. He's a fighter.
So as you can see down below, dawnbreakergaming.com. If you go into the forums there, I'll have it either up tonight or tomorrow. I'll create a new post for episode 3 topics. If there's anything you guys want to talk about or want us to discuss regarding anything to do with the gaming industry, and even the simplest of terms, go ahead and put it up there. You can elaborate on it. You don't have to put just a couple of words. You can be as talkative about it as you want. Hell, you can even discuss it with yourself and others inside the forums. Our user base inside the forums is actually pretty good. There's a couple of guys that keep the conversations going on the daily. If you haven't checked it out yet, I strongly suggest you do. Phil, when will it be on iTunes? That is a question for my website assistant.
It's a question for you.
No,
and
wait,
I'm the website fucking
Oh.
queen and administrator. You need to give me
I
the
know.
fucking MP3. Don't
Hey.
ever call me your assistant again.
Oh,
You're my assistant.
this is true.
I'm
Now,
gonna
I
point
didn't
out,
get to
Phil,
finish.
that nobody gives a
Mom and
fuck
Dad are
about
fighting,
much.
Scanner. Mom and Dad are fighting.
You get to finish. How long
Get
will
outta
it
here with
take
your minds.
to go on iTunes if I gave you the MP3? Like if you had the MP3 in hand this very second, how long would it take to be on iTunes?
Theoretically, 5 minutes. But
Okay.
I don't
So-
know if it needs more setup than that. I've never used PodPress.
I'll have it. Let me try and think about
Just
Phil.
before Snoofs closes the show, click on the link in the chat. It's a giant dog.
oh god.
It's
Okay.
awesome.
I will upload the video
Fair.
no later than 1 p.m. EST, so that's 6 p.m. GMT, and the link for the MP3 on iTunes should be available by 7 p.m. GMT. That shouldn't be too late. That way everyone can pull it at a reasonable time of the day. And they will, without a doubt, be up. I'm going to hope that we can get episode 1 up on the website for tomorrow. I'll go ahead and work on that now before I go destroy Cerdan in Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball. I think that covers it. Again, topics for episode 3. Go to dawnbreakergaming.com. Down in the forums, you'll see Game Speak podcast forum. Or podcast forum. I already forgot the top of my head what exactly it's titled. You'll see episode 3 for a thread topic. Go ahead, add your thoughts. We will discuss it all in great detail as of next week. That's going to wrap up this
Links in the
episode.
chat.
There you go. Epona's got us covered. Thank you all for watching. Greatly appreciate it. We all do. And we will catch you guys next week. Everyone have a wonderful night.
See you, nerds.